All right, here we go. Here we go. Now we are up. We are up. We yep. There we go. We're not up and running. I think we are now. Are we up running? Testing. Yeah, I believe we are up and running. Definitely. Cool. All right. Hey. All right. So good evening, beloved. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. We are on our 12th broadcast. Can you imagine that? We are on broadcast, 12th broadcast. Okay. And today we're going to be talking about spiritual discernment. Spiritual discernment, hearing divine guidance. Okay. Spiritual discernment, hearing divine guidance. Right. So I know that, you know, a lot of us are looking, for certain prayers to be answered. They're looking for a word from God, looking for a word from the Creator, right? A word from Source, looking and listening for something. And what we're going to do, we're going to talk about how to develop spiritual discernment. Okay, spiritual discernment in this episode. So, as always, we want to make sure that we are in sacred space, that we are creating a safe container. If you've seen any the episodes or even the podcast, you know that we do that. We do that by opening up our third eye, by concentrating on our breathing and centering ourselves. Okay, centering ourselves, creating sacred space wherever we are, creating sacred space wherever we are, safe containers. Okay, so take in. We want to take in three deep breaths. We're going to take in three deep breaths. We're going to hold them. We're going to inhale through our nose, fill our diaphragm, and hold it for a 4 count. And then we're going to breathe out slowly. Okay. We're going to relax, think about, and concentrate on the breathing. Then we're going to open up our third eye, think about and concentrate on the middle of your forehead. Open it up because that is where, when we open it up, decalcify the pineal gland, our third eye, is really how we connect. Okay, it's really how we connect with with the divine in us, so that the divine in us can communicate with the ultimate divine, ultimate source. Okay, so breathe in, breathe out slowly, and we're always breathing in positivity, breathing in those things that serve us, breathing in those things that are creative, those things that are good, those things, because we want to always bring, our good gifts to the universe. Okay, so breathe in, breathe out, and we're exhaling. We are exhaling, breathing out negativity, those things that no longer serve us, those things that bring in confusion and destruction. We want to breathe those things out because we don't want to hold those things inside of us, because when we show up, we want to make sure that we're showing up in our best selves. Okay, we want to make sure that we're showing up in our best selves. So breathe in, concentrate on your breathing, and as you're concentrating on your breathing, open up, as want to open up your third eye, decalcify it in some instances. Think about it. I want you to visualize a bright light, a glowing orb in the middle of your forehead. I want you to use your imagination. It is your imagination, right? Because we were made in the image and imagination of the creative force. And so therefore we share that because we're made in image and likeness. And it is through our imagination that we create concepts, and through our concepts is how we continue um, creative work. Okay, so we want to create safe space. We have the power to do so. We want to open up, our third eye, and imagine that light getting brighter and brighter on every exhale. every exhale, and you're feeling more and more safe on every inhale. You're creating sacred space. This is sacred time. This is holy ground. This is sacred space. This is a safe container. Okay. All right. One more deep breath in and hold it and breathe out slowly. Breathe out slowly. So, again, I want to welcome you back to our Eden Live, connecting to Source broadcast. And I'm so grateful, as always, grateful that you've joined me this afternoon as we explore a truly essential spiritual skill, right? Discerning divine guidance. Okay, so as we continue to settle in, you can hit me up in the comments. Let me know, where you're connecting in from. I love seeing that our global community as we gather together in this sacred space. So over these last past weeks, we've explored applying spiritual principles to various. Hey, how you doing, Cynthia? Hey, thank you for plugging in. How you doing? How you doing? I can always, depend on family. So, welcome, into this sacred space. This we've already created our safe container. Okay, so, over these past weeks, we've explored applying spiritual principles to various aspects of life, and today we'll discover how our three pillars. Remember, our three pillars are meditation, metaphysics, and manifestation. That was a divine download that was given to me as I began to put this ministry, Eden Life Ministries, together. And it's Eden Life because one of the things that was revealed to me is that we want to, that the call is to bring us back into Eden life, bring us back into, how we communed with God, right? And one of the things, as a misnomer, misconception, is that we were never, kicked out of the garden. We were just kicked out of the center, right? We weren't kicked out of Eden, but the center, right, is where the garden was. Okay, so this, excuse me, and so meditation, metaphysics, and manifestation was given to me as a divine download. And you can learn more about each one of those, if you go to my stand store, and there are 7-day courses for each. But anyway, we've discovered how these pillars, have created a framework for clearly recognizing and following divine guidance in our daily life. Okay, so here's the thing: how do we know if this is God speaking or just our own thoughts? How do we know that? How do we know? This question arises for nearly everyone on a spiritual path. Okay, so in a world full of competing voices, and there's nothing, and we haven't been in a more noisier time, so many voices in our ears, on social media, on television, streaming, all this. We have so many voices. So we've never had that many voices screaming at us at one time. So how do we know? In this world full of these competing voices, opinions, and influences, discerning authentic divine guidance becomes an essential spiritual skill, right? We want to truly hear from God. We want to truly hear the divine voice. So yet guidance doesn't always come in dramatic burning bush moments. Okay, I know some of us are looking for those moments where it's something that grabs our attention and we have to look and see what's going on, like Moses. More often, it arrives as what 1 Kings 19:12 describes as a still small voice, subtle, knowing, a subtle knowing that requires attunement, okay, to recognize it. It requires that still small voice requires that we are an attunement, that we are attuned spiritually to hear that voice. So many people doubt their ability to receive clear guidance, believing this capacity belongs only to mystics or spiritual leaders. But John 10:27 assures us, my sheep hear my voice, I know them, and they follow me. See, this scripture reveals that hearing divine guidance is our birthright as a spiritual being, not as a special gift for a chosen few. Okay, it is our birthright as spiritual beings. So today we'll explore how our three pillars create a practical framework for developing our discernment, our ability to recognize, trust, and follow divine guidance with confidence and clarity. So let's explore three key principles for developing spiritual discernment, right? So number one, receptive awareness through meditation. Again, we build everything on those three pillars. Receptive awareness through meditation. Our first pillar, meditation, creates the essential foundation for discernment by developing your receptivity to divine guidance. I always say that prayer is us talking, but meditation is us listening, being in a place that we can truly, truly listen. Most people struggle to hear guidance, not because it isn't being given, but because their minds are too noisy to perceive it. Right? Does this sound familiar? Does this sound familiar? Okay. But Psalms 46:10 instructs us to be still and know that I am God. This stillness isn't just physical, but mental and emotional, a quieting of the constant chatter that drowns out the subtle voice of wisdom. So here's what I call guidance, receptivity, meditation, right? Being in a place to receive. Begin always as we in a comfortable position, closing your eyes, right? Taking 3 deep breaths, releasing the tension and the mental noise, and visualize in your mind, visualize your mind as a clear lake, right? Our mind as a clear lake, perfectly still and reflective. Isn't that beautiful? Our mind is a clear lake, perfectly still and reflective, like those still waters where the sheep want for nothing, right? And with each breath, allow the water to become even more still. When thoughts arise, simply notice them without judgment, allowing them to pass like clouds. Now, after establishing stillness, silently ask a simple question that you seek guidance on, right? After you've established this calm water, after it has been established, silently ask a simple question that you seek guidance on. Rather than straining for an answer, create space to receive it. Become a receptacle, become something that can receive, a container that you can receive the answer once it's given. Notice what arises: an image, a word, a feeling, or simply a sense of knowing. Sometimes we know, right, what we know that we know that we know. Okay? We have a simple sense of knowing. And before concluding, express gratitude for divine guidance. Always, always maintain an attitude of gratitude, whether you receive clear direction or simply greater peace. So, this practice works with the understanding that guidance reception is a skill developed through consistent practice. So all of this, everything we're talking about is uh, through consistent practice. It's consistency. You have to set the intention and be consistent. And it's something that I'm still working on. Okay, it's something that I'm still working on myself. The being consistent, making sure that I'm developing new habits and new behaviors, right? So each session strengthens your ability to distinguish between mental chatter and divine direction. With practice, you'll begin to strengthen that muscle of being receptive, that muscle of being able to distinguish. Number two is understanding guidance laws through metaphysics. The second pillar, metaphysical understanding, reveals that spiritual laws governing divine it reveals the spiritual laws governing divine guidance. When we understand these principles, we can cooperate with how guidance functions rather than working against it. Makes sense? One fundamental principle is what I call the law of frequency attunement. Again, being attuned, the attunement is important. The law of frequency attunement. Why do I say frequency? Because everything is energy and it operates. We operate on different frequencies, right? There are frequencies in that always operate in the universe. Okay, so you want to be attuned to the frequency of that answer, right? That divine voice, and this is reflected in Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. So you have to be attuned, not to the noise and chatter of the world, but be attuned by renewing your mind, right? Creating that stillness, remember? Okay. So this law teaches us that guidance is received through frequency alignment rather than just intellectual understanding. Like tuning a radio to receive a specific station. That's exactly how it is. We attune our consciousness to receive divine direction. So, what are some signs you are aligning with this law? So, some of those signs are regular spiritual practices that raise your consciousness, right? So, as we continue to grow in these spiritual practices, our consciousness is it begins to rise. Our frequency, if you will, okay? Increasing sensitivity to subtle impressions and synchronicities, right? You become even more sensitive to that still small voice, these little subtle impressions. You have greater discernment between ego impulses and higher guidance, right? You begin to be able to discern whether it's your ego, right, speaking, your ego acting, or it is really higher guidance. And consistent exposure to wisdom teachings that elevate your thinking. So what happens because of this energy also, develops attraction. And so you become attracted to more wisdom teaching, right? More you become more and more of a seeker. You then are now exposed to these more and more teachings, okay? And they elevate your thinking. Elevate your thinking. Now, another powerful principle is the law of multi-channel communication. Right? Getting the theme with this? The law of multi-channel communication, right? And now everybody's television, right, is attuned to multiple channels, whether you still have cable, satellite, or you're streaming, right? So this law of multiple channel communication, it's reflected in various biblical accounts where guidance come through what? Through dreams, through visions, through inner knowing, through synchronicities and other people. This law reveals that divine guidance doesn't limit itself to one channel, but communicates through various avenues based on what will best reach us in that moment. I know I've been I would concentrate and contemplate on something, wanting to hear, get an answer, hear the voice of God, and not hearing it in the meditation or the prayer, and then I'm driving. Right, I'm driving. Then all of a sudden, I see the back of a car, back of a truck, side of a truck, uh, 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 um, a signpost, right? And it's like clear as day, the answer. Okay, or in a conversation with someone, and we're just talking, and they say something, not even realizing really, that they said it, and then I pick up on it. It happened to me just a couple of days ago, as a matter of fact, right? So it's multiple channel. There's multiple channel communication. Now, practical application of this law includes recognizing your primary guidance channels. Okay, we all have primary guidance channels, yeah, which are intuitive knowing, visual images, and physical sensations. They all work in concert with one another, right? When you feel, you get a chill, goosebumps, different things, even the word says that then when they walked on the road of Emmaus, and they heard, from the Savior, said, didn't our heart burn, right? That it was just energy, this energy that was in the conversation. Okay, so also remaining open to unexpected forms of guidance. Don't force it. Be open, right? Be open to this multiple channel, these unexpected forms of guidance, and developing discernment about guidance from external sources. Looking for confirmation across multiple channels for important decisions. Okay, so these are some practical applications of this law. And number three, implementing guidance through faith-filled action. Faith-filled action, right? Faith without works. So the third pillar, manifestation, teaches us that receiving guidance is only the beginning. It's only the beginning. Acting on it completes the circuit, right? And strengthens our connection to divine connection. Now, it is again circuit, right? Connection, right? Being plugged in. You have to be plugged in. So it's not just about receiving the guidance, it's also acting on it, taking action, exercising your personal power, our personal power to move, to act upon it. James 1:22 instructs us to be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves, right? So this scripture reveals that guidance implemented becomes wisdom. Guidance implemented becomes wisdom, while guidance ignored fades into mere information. Let that sit with you. So guidance implementation includes initial testing, right? God, it's several times, about testing the word, testing it, right? Taking small steps to confirm guidance, courageous action, moving forward despite fear or uncertainty. We were not given the spirit of fear, we developed it. Course correction, being ready and able to pivot, remaining flexible as guidance refines through action, and trust building. Developing confidence through experience of divine support. Okay, developing that trust. Some practical implementation steps include acting promptly on clear guidance, starting with small steps. Acting promptly, okay? Acting promptly. One thing that I learned from a mentor about people who are successful make decisions quickly and change their minds slowly. People who are not successful, they take their time to make decisions, but change their minds quickly, okay? So acting promptly. Journaling guidance, right, received and the results of following. Journaling, right? So, I had journaling, journaling, okay? Recognizing patterns and how guidance manifests in our life and building a guidance testimony of times you've been divinely led. Why? Because see, the testimony is not just for you, that hey, I've gone through this before. I made this decision. I did this. I heard all this kind of things like that. But there are also people, who are watching, or people, who can use that testimony. So you want to build, guidance testimony where have, not only listened, but you moved. Okay. So what makes this approach powerful is that it transforms guidance from an occasional event to an ongoing relationship with divine wisdom. Rather than seeking dramatic answers only for major decisions, you develop a continuous conversation with source that informs all aspects of life. Okay. So this doesn't mean we'll never make mistakes in discernment. It doesn't mean that. Learning to distinguish between divine guidance and other influences is a skill developed through practice, reflection, and sometimes learning the hard way. But each experience, whether seemingly successful or not, refines your discernment capacity. Remember, it is through the mistakes where we learn the lesson. It is through the mistakes, right? It is through our failures that we grow, that we grow. So how can we begin applying these principles to strengthen our ability to receive and follow divine guidance? So here's a simple process. Step one, guidance inventory. And taking inventory is very important. I am right now in a mode that I'm being introspective, and I'm taking inventory of my life over the past few years and what it may look like, what I would want it to look like, over these next few years. Okay, so guidance inventory. Take time this week to reflect on your guidance history. When have you felt clearly guided in the past? Through what channels do you most easily receive direction? Okay, so I'm an introvert by nature, so it's really in my quiet time, my alone time, things. But like I said before, I've been in conversations, been in situations where I've gotten answers. Okay, what patterns or blocks might interfere with clear reception? What questions are you currently seeking guidance about? Take inventory, guidance inventory. Step two, receptivity practice. Establish a daily practice to enhance your guidance reception. Okay. 10 to 15 minutes of guidance receptivity meditation that we went over. You can always look at the replay to get and understand what that looks like. Journaling impressions, dreams, and synchronicities. Journaling. That's right. Creating quiet space throughout your day to listen. Pull away, right? Steal away. The Savior did that so many times. And reducing mental noise through media fasting or nature time. I'm actually on a media fast right now. I'm on a media fast. The only thing that I listen to, I listen to podcasts and maybe some YouTube channels or some things that are helping me to develop, right? Personal development and things like that, right? So you want to reduce that mental noise through media fasting. I know a lot of people when they think of fasting is like the Daniel fast or something about eating, and but it's always about what's consumed or what are you consuming, not just you're ingesting food, but what are you consuming in your mind and through your eyes. Okay. And number three, guidance implementation. Remember, you have to implement to close the gap, to close the circuit. Begin putting guidance into practice. Take one small step, one small action based on guidance you've received. Notice the results without judgment. Look for confirmation through peace, synchronicity, or fruit. And build confidence through consistent application. Consistency is the key. Remember that discernment develops through practice. Start with smaller decisions to build your guidance muscles, right? Start with smaller decisions to build your guidance muscles before applying them to major life choices. With consistency, you'll develop greater confidence in recognizing and following divine direction. Okay. So, again, I'd love to hear about your experience with divine guidance. How do you most easily receive direction? What challenges have you encountered in discerning true guidance? So you can share those comments with me, share those times with me. You can, always, again, just DM me here on Facebook. Okay. So again, thank you for joining me this evening as we explored spiritual discernment. I hope you're leaving with a deeper understanding of how meditation, metaphysical principles, and faithful action can help you clearly recognize and follow divine guidance. So this week, I encourage you to practice the guidance receptivity meditation daily and take at least one action based on guidance, the guidance you receive, however small. Okay. And so next Thursday at 7:30 Eastern, we'll explore faith in action, the divine partnership, where we explore that dynamic relationship between faith and action in manifesting our divine purpose. Okay. So if you found value in today's episode, today's session, please share the video. Tell people about the live. Share with someone who might benefit. Okay, and until next time, remember that divine guidance is your birthright, not an occasional miracle, but an ongoing relationship with the wisdom of Source. Okay, so always, always, always empower your purpose, embrace your journey, and witness the extraordinary unfold. Peace, love, and light, beloved. Peace, love, and light.